A grandma from North Carolina delivered quite the speech today on the steps of the U.S. Capitol building. The Democratic Party is holding a series of protests this week to try to inform the American people as to what's going on in the House of Representatives. And that's that House Representatives, House Republicans, are trying to pass a budget that would be a huge handout to their donors, to America's wealthiest individuals, and to corporations. And so I thought that this North Carolina grandma's speech was the perfect thing to share with the Reflect community, because it just goes to show how the Republican Party is fine with cutting the social safety nets for America's most desperate citizens, meanwhile giving tax breaks to McDonald's.
Hello, my name is Mary Beth Cochran, and I'm from Canton, North Carolina, where I'm still recovering from the devastation of Hurricane Helene in September. I'm a proud member of Moms Rising and a constituent of Representative Chuck Edwards. I have custody of 4 of my grandchildren, ages 10, 12, 15, and 16, as their parents couldn't care for them due to addiction, domestic violence, and homelessness. I'm here today to urge lawmakers to put families over billionaires and reject any cuts to the programs hard-working families like mine rely on. Caring for my grandkids means the world to me, and I would not change it for the world. I work hard to make sure they have everything they need, but I'm on fixed income, and it's never been easy. I work a part-time job making $8 an hour at a coin laundry in my area to supplement my disability. My family is barely making it. At times I've had to skip refilling my prescriptions so my grandkids wouldn't have to skip meals. This shouldn't be going on. This is not a Democratic or a Republican issue. This is a world issue, a people. We should be caring for our children. The children are the future. This is what we need. We don't need these cuts. Right now I'm terrified because Republican leaders seem poised to take critical resources away from my family. The House is voting today on a budget resolution that would gut programs like SNAP. But without SNAP, I wouldn't be able to put food on the table. Even with SNAP benefits, it doesn't get me through the month. I still have to rely on food pantries and food distribution sites. It shouldn't be going on, people. With the rising cost of food, we're struggling enough as it is, just like so many others in my area. They're trying to slash Medicaid, which is the only reason my grandkids see a doctor, including my youngest, who has ADHD, autism, and PTSD from surviving 2 floods in our area in the past 3 years. Our children should be able to get the basic necessities they need. They should be able to go to the dentist, get their teeth cleaned, the simple things. I've even heard Head Start is under threat. Head Start helped my grandkids come out of their shells while preparing them for kindergarten. Any cuts to these programs would be devastating. They would mean kids would go hungry and their education would suffer. Our overall economy would be harmed. I don't understand why any lawmaker would threaten programs that enable families to survive. But it's appalling to know that Republicans want to slash these programs so they can cut taxes for billionaires and corporations. Instead, I want lawmakers to permanently expand the child tax credit so our nation's kids can thrive. When that child tax credit was in place, I, for the first time, was able to get a used vehicle to transport my children to their doctor's offices. We should not be struggling. I'm 56 years old. Please, Families like mine are counting on Congress to put the needs of our children above the interests of the ultra-rich by voting no on the budget resolution. These businesses don't need any more tax cuts, like I heard the other night on the news. McDonald's doesn't need any more tax cuts. Please think of the simple little people like myself and other families that are struggling every day. Thank you for your time. I now hand it over to Katina Moss.
That North Carolina grandma talking about how she's raising her own grandchildren because her children got caught up in drug abuse, domestic violence, and homelessness. Meanwhile, she lives in a Republican district. You heard her there call out Chuck Edwards by name. A Republican district in North Carolina that went to Donald Trump. And these Republicans and Donald Trump are doing all that they can to cut these resources, to limit the scope of the federal government so that desperate people like her and her children can't get the help that they so desperately need. Instead, they say, oh, well, we're going to cut the taxes of McDonald's so that they can hire more people, and that'll get you out of the hole that you're in. But McDonald's won't really help with drug addiction or domestic violence. Those are things that the federal government needs to help provide for these people. Those are resources that these people need. Drug addiction centers and resources, domestic violence shelters, homelessness shelters. Like, this is not complicated here. And I know Republicans want to make it really easy and say, well, all these corporate tax cuts will trickle down. But that is something that we haven't really seen evidence of. And it's really hard to do when you're someone who is struggling with your partner walloping on you. And so you turn to drugs, or you are homeless because you can't return home and you don't have access to the internet, or you can't post your job resume, or you've been struggling with this for years, or maybe you're a mom who has raised kids and so you have been out of the workforce for a while. What are they supposed to do? But instead, you have people like this woman, and she takes on the brunt and the weight of all of this, of all of these societal problems. And Republican men, mostly, say, just work another job because we're going to cut the taxes of these corporations. So you should be able to find a job flipping burgers if you want to from midnight to 6 a.m. Why not? But who's going to raise those kids? And then you're going to take away Head Start for those kids. So you're going to take away their parents and their grandparents. You're going to take away their resources as young kids, which is only going to increase the chances that they fall into the drug abuse trap, the domestic violence trap, homelessness. And this cycle is only going to get worse and worse. But hey, the Republican Party and their corporate donors, they're going to be fine. And so the American people really need to wake up. Stop voting against their own interests, especially when it comes to people in red states and red districts. What we're gearing up for with this Republican budget is going to be a test for democracy, because the House of Representatives Republicans in the House have a very slim margin. I think it's like 3 votes for them to pass this budget. And so will stories like this, will it resonate with enough Americans who will kind of wake up and maybe change their mindset from November, when maybe they voted for Donald Trump and they voted for Chuck Edwards in the North Carolina district that this woman's from? And will they say, I need to call my representative and say, look, you passed this, I'm not voting for you next time. That's kind of the test that we're in here for our democracy. Will enough representatives listen to their constituents? And will they say, all right, I'm going to stand up to this, or else it's only going to get worse for my district? Or will they continue to bend the knee to Donald Trump and the Republican Party's overlords, who they just care about the donors? They care about stuffing the coffers, their re-election campaign coffers, so that they can continue to hold the seats that they hold. What's going to be the result of the test? Is the Chuck Edwards, is he going to listen to the people, or is he going to continue down the path of bending the knee? Let me know what your thoughts are, what your reflections are of this speech, of the slim margin in the House of Representatives, and what you think about these social safety net programs in a lot of states that have people who desperately need them. Share your reflections in the comments down below, and subscribe to Reflect Politics if you haven't already. My name is Brendan Plank. Hope to see you in the next video.